Cool.
Welcome back to the Suhu podcast, everybody. This week we're answering a question we've heard a bunch, and it's a fair one. Why do lotion and oil feel so similar on your skin but behave so differently in practice? A lot of people like to treat them interchangeably. A lot of brands often encourage this idea. And when you're desperate to just keep your skin comfortable, sometimes it can make sense. But if you've ever swapped one for the other and gotten some confusing results like dryness or tightness or things just feeling off, there is a reason for that. Today is all about understanding what each one actually does so that you can make calmer choices that match what your skin really needs. Lydia, before we get into the details, can you help us set the frame? Like, why does this confusion exist in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So, everybody's kind of been here. I feel like my example that relates to me is like being in a dry hotel room in Vegas and just putting more and more hotel lotion onto my hands, really hoping that my hands are going to stop cracking and they'll stop, hurting while I'm on this trip. And obviously, Vegas is a desert. So the air is very dry there. And I'm thinking, oh, I have this hotel lotion, hopefully this will fix it. But if anybody's been there or like in another similar situation where lotion just isn't cutting it for them, it's likely because all the water that you're putting into your skin is just evaporating back out into the air. And so you actually need something that's going to be more like an oil or more like an occlusive, which we'll talk about, to kind of prevent that water loss. And so many times, right, we're in different situations where we don't have maybe access to the normal skincare we have, or we're in a different environment. And if your skin is starting to bother you, whether you want to go for oil or lotion or a combination of both, this podcast is going to kind of help you understand the science behind that.
Sweet. Yeah. What really stands out to me in that explanation that you just gave, Lydia, is that lotion and oil are solving different problems. They can both feel soothing. They can both make your skin feel softer to the touch right away, but that immediate feeling doesn't really tell the whole story about what's happening underneath. So even though they might overlap in how they feel on application, they're interacting with the skin in very different ways. And that's important because skin doesn't just respond to the texture, it's responding to what's actually being supported or reduced at the surface. I think this is where a lot of people do get tripped up. Similar experience does not mean similar function. Lydia, what can you tell us about the function of these different tools?
Yeah, so the easiest way to kind of break down the science of lotion and an oil is to just understand what they are at their basic structures, right? So an oil is all lipids. You can think of literally something like vegetable oil, right? Whereas a lotion is going to be something that is an emulsion. So it's taking a lot of water. Water is usually the first ingredient listed, meaning it's the most abundant ingredient in your formulation of a lotion. It's taking water and it's mixing it with a little bit of oil and some humectants and some other things to really get water into the skin. And so these two different types of products, right? One is more water-based essentially, and then one is oil-based. And so when we're thinking about what they're providing to our skin, you can think of lotion being like the hydration, like the rainwater, whatever is replenishing your dry skin. But then the oil is essentially mimicking your skin's natural oil on the exterior, and it's also mimicking your acid mantle, which is like the piece of your skin that is a little bit acidic and helps prevent from like bacterial infections and things like that. And so when you're thinking about the actual feel of these two things, they might feel kind of similar. Like lotion is kind of slippery, oil is kind of slippery. They both feel initially a little hydrating, right? Like your skin is glowing after you put an oil on it, glowing after you put a lotion on it. But at its core, the lotion is providing hydration and the oil is sort of providing this seal and sort of replenishing your skin's natural oils to keep the hydration in. So one of the analogies you can kind of think about is like if you had a really dry sponge in your kitchen sink and you run it under water, the sponge is going to become moisturized. It's going to be full of water. But if you set it right back out on your dry kitchen counter, it's going to lose all that water. If you do, however, take that same sponge and you put it and seal it in a Ziploc bag and put it on the kitchen counter, it's going to stay wet. And so the oil is kind of like that protective seal, that protective bag around the skin, basically preventing the water loss. And so, if your skin is needing water, you're going to want to add lotion. But if your skin barrier is in any way damaged or the environment is, detrimental to the health of your skin barrier, then you're also going to want to add an oil to prevent that water loss too.
Thanks for explaining the structure of those things for us a bit, Lydia. I'd love to zoom in now on the lived experience side of this because I think that's where everyone's really feeling that difference. Someone runs out of lotion, so they just throw their normal oil on, or they've run out of their oil, so they're just using the lotion for the day, and suddenly their skin is feeling tighter or drier, just things aren't right. From the outside looking in, it can feel like, oh, my skin is just unpredictable now. But I'd like to talk about why that swap, going from using both of these as a system to just one or the other, why that sometimes backfires for some people, especially in the winter or like drier environments.
Practically speaking, like when you're thinking about using a lotion, like I'm just going to go back to that hotel lotion example. Like those lotions tend to be very light, right? Like they're very easy to put on, they absorb very quickly. They are, basically providing that hydration, but without the seal, right? And so, in the case of putting a lotion on and then going back into the dry environment, if that's the kind of lotion that you're using, it's more likely than not you're going to come back and want to add more within the next like 20 minutes. And you're going to be like, why is my skin doing this? And so that's kind of the result you get with lotion, no oil. Obviously, like there are heavier lotions that you can use depending on like your preference. And some of those heavier lotions, they feel heavier. Those often have some other ingredients that can kind of help prevent water loss. And so those exist. But in general, if you're using lotion without some kind of oil protectant, then you're basically just like going to be losing water out of the same skin that you just hydrated. And so on the converse side, if you are putting oil over your skin, but you haven't hydrated it, it's possible you live in a really humid environment and you don't need any more hydration to your skin. That's something that, you need to feel out. But if your skin is dry and you're putting oil on it, what's going to happen is you will see like your skin looks very shiny. It looks like it could be, moisturized. You get kind of like this glazed effect on your skin that you see, like influencers sometimes have. And like that glow that you're getting, that oil is like a visual glow, but you have essentially basically sealed your skin without adding the moisture first. And so it's not really doing anything other than kind of like helping out your skin barrier, which is great. It's going to prevent further dryness, but it's not necessarily going to be locking in any extra moisture. So really like the ideal way to do this is like if you are in a dry environment, your skin's dry, you want to do the lotion first and then you want to put on an oil on top of that. And if you're going back out into a super dry environment or into a really cold environment, I would also suggest adding, some kind of like heavy occlusive like shea butter or beeswax. And if you're really like working out in the cold, you can, use Vaseline like that as well. But I would do lotion first before any of that because you want to really hydrate your skin. So those are kind of my practical tips for you as you're looking for your products, depending on, what environment you live in and what kind of skin you have.
And I really appreciate that explanation too, because it removes the idea that your skin is being dramatic or your skin is being inconsistent. Your skin is looking for support. And if you're giving it inconsistent support, it will show up for you inconsistently.
Totally.
It's not that one product is good and the other is bad. It's just that your tools are being mismatched to your conditions.
Exactly. That's a great way of putting it.
This brings us to a mindset shift that's really important to us. We don't think of lotion or oil as hero products. We think of them as tools. Tools have jobs, and sometimes you only need one. Other times, using two tools together makes sense. Lydia, could you talk us through when lotion alone might be enough and when oil alone might be enough without turning this into a really strict rule book?
Yeah, for sure. And obviously it really kind of just depends on your skin type and like whether it feels dry or not to you. But the best rule of thumb is if your skin feels dry and you're in an environment that's not humid, so your environment's also dry, then I recommend using both. If you have just gotten out of the shower, your skin feels really moisturized, and I'm talking like a cool shower, or you're in a super humid environment and your skin feels like really plump and you're not like dry anywhere, then you can kind of get away with using, just oil, or depending on the type of lotion you have, you can get away with using just lotion. But I really suggest using like the rule of thumb, which is just like, hey, does my skin feel dry? If your skin feels dry, add some lotion. If you're also in a dry environment or a cold environment, add oil to seal it in, and then you should be good to go.
What I really appreciate about that approach is that it gives individuals permission to just listen to your skin or listen to their skin. There's no hierarchy here, no sense that one product is the more advanced or more correct one. It's just about support. And kind of going back to last week's podcast, it kind of goes back to just mindfulness. This is an opportunity for you to look at your skin, listen to your body. It's telling you what it needs. You have the tools. When you put those things together, your skin will really start working for you instead of against you.
Yeah, for sure. And it reminds me of like that whole, 28-day turnover of your skin, right? Which, like, if you are, supplementing your routine or changing your routine at all, like, give yourself a little bit of time to adjust. And so, like, for me, like, I do travel a decent amount. And so I really like lean into the lotion plus oil because I just know that my skin needs that support kind of no matter where I'm going. And I just keep that consistent. And so if you, know that in the winter you like to go skiing or do whatever, be outside, like just, you know, prep for that ahead of time, right? Like be proactive about it, not reactive.
So to bring this together, big takeaway is pretty simple. Lotion and oil can feel similar on the surface, but they don't do the same job. When skin feels off, especially in winter, it's often because what it needs has changed, not because you're doing something wrong. Understanding the difference gives you options, and options reduce anxiety. All right. So, Lydia, do you have any expert takeaways for us this week?
Yeah, I mean, the key thing here, right, is just we know oil and water don't like each other. They don't blend well. And so, you add water into your skin. That makes sense, provides hydration. And then the oil provides a nice little seal that prevents the hydration from leaving your skin. And if you think about it that way, then you're good to go. No matter kind of what environment you're in, you can figure out what your skin needs.
Alrighty, folks. If you want to go deeper, we've written a full blog post that breaks this down in more detail. You can access that on suhuskin.com. And as always, please leave your questions in the comments. We read them and they do help guide future conversations. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.